Jr. Shout out to Jay Calderon, Boxing Talk.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's Boxing Talk. One of boxing's biggest attractions and hottest fighters today, Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr., now became the WBC and IBF Unified Welterweight Champion of the world at 147 pounds. Came off one of the best fights of the year, perhaps a candidate for Fight of the Year against Sean Showtime Porter. This was an excellent fight matchup, a very even matchup throughout the fight where Errol Spence had to dig deep in order to pull out victory in this fight because it was a very good, entertaining fight. Sean Porter fought the fight of his career in this fight right here. This was an excellent performance by Sean Porter, who is an aggressive fighter, who's also very wild in there. You know, he brings an ugly style to the ring, and he's always given everyone that he has faced a competitive fight, a very tough, hard fight each time out. He did it against Kell Brook. He did it against Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, and also Adrian Broner. This man always brings out the best of his opponent and gives them life and death in that ring. And that's exactly what he did with Errol Spence, because Spence was backing up throughout this fight. Spence was getting hit with a lot of shots, but Spence was landing more of the cleaner punches on Sean Porter. But Porter was definitely getting his moments in there. That fourth round where Porter was able to clip Errol Spence on the top of his head and hurt him, because he was physically hurt in that round, and that was the best round that Sean Porter had throughout this fight, where he was able to rock Errol Spence and have him in trouble for just a moment, and that was a very strong round for Sean Porter. The fight was a back and forth seesaw. You know, I had this fight dead even after 8 rounds, 4 rounds apiece, because we saw Errol Spence using the jab, going to the body with some beautiful body work. We saw, you know, Sean Porter with his wild, aggressive style, landing some shots that was snapping the head back of Errol Spence, but Spence was controlling the fight on the inside. He was fighting Sean Porter's fight, and he was being drawn into that type of fight, but Errol Spence was being quite effective with the style of Sean Porter, because he was able to receive and also dish out punishment to get Sean Porter in those close trenches. You know, we started to see both men breathing heavily. We saw both men getting tired at times, but it was Sean Porter that kept on pushing forward, and I saw him in the later rounds ahead on the scorecards, on my scorecards, because I believe that he was winning the fight going into the 11th round by a slight margin. But in that 11th round is where you saw the true champion in Errol Spence, because this man right here rose to the occasion. He fought in the championship rounds, rounds 11 and 12, like a true champion does. And he stormed back in that 11th round where he was able to hurt Sean Porter and drop Sean Porter with a beautiful shot that snapped Sean Porter's head like a bobblehead doll. This was a spectacular knockdown that put Sean Porter down to the canvas, but Porter was able to get back up and to be able to finish off this fight. You got to give him a lot of respect and a lot of credit for what he did in this fight right here, because a lot of people thought that Sean Porter was going to get hit and lay down and the fight was going to be over, and that Errol Spence would be able to stop Sean Porter. And I told everyone that wasn't the case, because I believe that Sean Porter has one of the best chins in boxing. I know what type of fighter he is, and I knew that this fight was going to go the 12th round distance and that Errol Spence was going to become the winner in this fight. Even though I'm a Sean Porter fan and I was pulling for my guy to win, I knew deep in my heart, because I am not a biased reporter, I'm not going to go and say that my guy is going to win based off of what I believe in my heart. I have to think clearly as a reporter, and I have to base the facts. And the facts are Errol Spence is an all-around better fighter. And I like Errol Spence, and I believe that Errol Spence would win this fight, and he did just that. And it was great to see him rise to the occasion in the late rounds to take over the fight. He won a split decision victory, but the judges' scorecards were ridiculous. You know, all 3 judges, you know, 2 of them scored it in favor of Errol Spence, pretty wide margin, and also the other judge scored it for Sean Porter. You know, that was just ridiculous, because I didn't see Sean winning this fight. You know, one thing most people could agree on is that Errol Spence did win this fight. A very close fight, you know, no matter how close it was, Errol Spence deserved the victory in this fight. And that's what I felt. I scored this fight much closer. Like I said, the knockdown was the deciding factor to win this fight for Errol Spence, because I had Shawn Porter up right before the knockdown happened. And I believe that Errol Spence won the 12th round along with the 11th round where he got the knockdown. And that's what won him this fight right here. I scored it 114 to 113 by 1 point. That's how close this fight was. A lot of people said that this fight could have been a draw because this fight was very close. It was a great fight, definitely candidate for Fight of the Year. And, you know, I would love to see it again. Why not? You know, it's a possibility that Errol Spence might push for the rematch himself, you know, because he wants to show the doubters that he could beat Shawn Porter more convincingly a second time around. But after the fight was over, it was announced right in the ring that Danny Garcia is up next to fight Errol Spence. And now we're hearing it's possibly going to go down in late January of 2020. Now, this is a fight that I know that Errol Spence does not want. He wants Manny Pacquiao. That's the fight that he's been looking at before he even fought Mikey Garcia. You know, so he wants the big payday. He made a very good payday in this fight. It was reported that he was getting a guarantee of $2 million, the same as Shawn Porter, but there's more money that's on the table with the pay-per-view buys now soaring over 300,000 plus pay-per-view buys. Very good. Better than what I expected, because I expected this fight to do no more than 200, maybe a little bit over 200,000 buys, but it did pass my expectations, and it's now going over the 300,000 mark, and it possibly will be falling right under 350 when it's all said and done, when the numbers are all tallied up. And that's great news for Errol Spence, because I know with that and the deal that's in place, he can make possibly $7 to $10 million off of this fight right here with Shawn Porter when it's all said and done. And that's a very good payday for Errol Spence. And I know that he's very happy. But a fight with Manny Pacquiao will produce more than $10 million for Errol Spence, and that's what he wants. He wants the big name on his resume like a legendary fighter like Manny Pacquiao, because he wants to prove that he is the best fighter in the world. And Pacquiao has the WBA welterweight title that he took off Keith Thurman in his last fight. So, you know, Errol Spence definitely wants to collect all the belts, and that's his priority, is Manny Pacquiao. That's what he's been advocating for, that he wants the Manny Pacquiao fight. But right now, he's not going to get that fight. And I told everybody he's not going to get that fight. So why is he being forced to face Danny Garcia? What has Danny Garcia done to get a title shot at Errol Spence? You know, beating Adrian Granados the way he did in very good fashion. He looked very good against Adrian Granados. But before that fight, previously, he lost 2 back-to-back fights against top elite fighters like Shawn Porter and Keith Thurman. So I don't see him beating an Errol Spence. You know, I believe that it will be a competitive fight. I know that Danny Garcia has tremendous heart. He's a warrior in that ring. He has one of the best chins in boxing right there with Shawn Porter. And he's also a harder puncher than a Shawn Porter. So I believe that his punching power, if he could land the way Shawn Porter was able to land, then he might hurt Errol Spence in this fight. But deep down inside, I know that Errol Spence is a much better fighter, much better boxer. And I also know that his punching power can do some conflicting damage on Danny Garcia. Can he knock Danny Garcia out? Possibly, but it won't be to the head. I believe the best scenario for Errol Spence to knock out Danny Garcia is to the body. I believe that with that body attack that Errol Spence has, he could hurt Danny Garcia to the body and possibly stop him to the body. Other than that, I see this fight going 12 rounds. Once again, for Errol Spence against a good, solid fighter that he could beat and become victorious at the end of the day. But he doesn't want to fight Danny Garcia. I know that he feels that it's pointless fighting Danny Garcia right now. He said it himself at the end of the fight. Tables have turned. You know, before Danny Garcia was the man, he was a world champion and he was undefeated. And Errol Spence was calling him out, and Danny Garcia didn't want no part of him, along with Keith Thurman. You know, these guys fought each other. They fought Shawn Porter. They didn't take the fight against Errol Spence. Now Spence is the man of the division that holds 2 world titles, and everybody wants to fight him. You know, he's proven himself as a pay-per-view star. You know, it's different since the days of Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, and even Canelo Alvarez. Those pay-per-view days are done. There's nobody doing over 1 million pay-per-view buys anymore. Canelo Alvarez was the last to do it. Now he fights on DAZN, where you get to see his fights for $20 a month. That's basically it for pay-per-view. Nobody's doing those numbers. Manny Pacquiao, who produced several 1 million plus pay-per-view buys, is now doing 500,000 pay-per-view buys, you know, with these top elite fighters today. So it shows you that the pay-per-view system has died down. You know, they're still doing good numbers. They're still making very good money off of these pay-per-view buys because Errol Spence, in 2 fights this year alone, has produced more than 700,000 pay-per-view buys for PBC. And that's pretty good. You know, that's not bad numbers at all. And he's definitely doing better numbers than Terrence Bud Crawford, who is considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world by many, or at least top 2, you know, in the pound for pound list. So, you know, Errol Spence is in the driver's seat right now. He could command the lion's share of the money between him and Terrence Crawford. I believe 60-40 is a fair split in favor of Errol Spence over Terrence Crawford. You know, I hope that this fight could be made. It's a fight that should be made, but Al Haymon holds the key and has the ultimate power to make anything happen. And if Al Haymon wants this fight to happen right now, he can make it happen. I don't see Bob Arum holding up this fight because he knows he has nobody to offer Terrence Crawford for a big fight. All the fights are on the PBC side, and he needs PBC fighters to give Bud Crawford the fights that the fight fans want to see. You know, because boxing fans want to see him against the PBC fighters. But that's not going to happen unless Al Haymon says he's willing to make these fights right now. It could be Danny Garcia. It could be Errol Spence. It could be Keith Thurman. It could be any one of the PBC fighters. Even Ugas, if he wants to make these fights, he can make these fights happen. You know, that's why I'm so hard on the Al Haymon side, because I know that he has ultimate power to making these fights happen. It's not Bob Arum saying that, you know, he's not going to make these fights happen because, you know, he knows that the money is there to be made. He's going to make more money with PBC fighters than he is against Crawford's mandatory, or even a Kell Brook or a Luis Collazo. There's not many guys out there for Terrence Crawford to face. And Terrence Crawford is making very good money, but now it's coming to a point where he needs to make a decision and what he's going to be able to do to secure himself these big fights in the future, because he needs this for his legacy. Bud Crawford has established himself already as a future Hall of Famer once his career is over, but his legacy needs to be more cemented to be able to call him the #1 guy in the welterweight division, because he hasn't done anything in the welterweight division to be called #1. Pound for pound, best fighter in the world, I could see that. You know, he's dominated everyone that's been put in front of him. There has been no controversy. This man has been 100% solid against his opponents and dominated to become a 3-division world champion. But it's time to step up in the division that he fights in right now against the big elite fighters. But that's only going to happen if Al Haymon allows his fighters to fight Terrence Crawford. And that's a gamble. And that's a risk we don't know he wants to take right now. So, you know, I hope that it can happen. You know, it's a great opportunity for Errol Spence to put his foot down and say, I do not want Danny Garcia. I want either Pacquiao or Terrence Crawford. No one else, you know, because that's what the boxing fans want to see. And we need to start giving the boxing fans what they deserve. And they're willing to put their money up to spend to watch these fights happen. You know, Danny Garcia might sell pretty good on pay-per-view, but, you know, it's not going to sell the way a Manny Pacquiao is going to sell. And it's not going to sell the way a Terrence Crawford is going to sell. These fights are on high demand, and this is what the fans want right now. You know, can Errol Spence defeat Manny Pacquiao? I'm going to be honest with you. Manny Pacquiao is over 40 years old. Pacquiao looked like he slowed down in the Keith Thurman fight. That was a tough fight for him. It was a close fight for him, but he showed out and he was able to pull out victory. I still say that Manny Pacquiao has the experience, has the tenacity, has the speed, has style, you know, from throwing punches in different angles, that he's a problem even for Errol Spence. Can Spence win that fight? Sure he can. Will he win that fight? It's not 100% guarantee. You know, I give Pacquiao a very good edge in winning that fight. You know, it's a close fight. So we have to see, once they step into the ring, who's going to be the man at the end of the night. And then Terence Crawford, like I said, that's a 50-50 fight too. Terence Crawford, I believe, is the best welterweight in the world, but he's not being given the chance to prove it yet. He has that versatile style that he's able to switch from orthodox to southpaw. He could box. He could bang. He has good punching power. You know, he has a very good ring IQ. He has footwork. He has great hand speed. I believe that Terence Crawford has what it takes to beat Errol Spence. But like I said, until these guys fight and meet in the ring, we'll never know. And let's hope that these guys can actually fight in 2020. But we're going to have to wait and see. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into this YouTube channel right here, Jay Calderon Boxing Talk. Please hit that little red subscribe button. Hit that bell icon so you can get all my notifications once I drop a new video. Put your email address in. Please follow me on all social media platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, and join the Facebook boxing group page, all under the same name, Jay Calderon Boxing Talk. I'm Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment. Thanks for your support, and please subscribe.